द्विषो नो विश्वतो मुक्ति नवेव परय अपनः सो सुखद अघम स नः सिंधुम इव नवयति पर्स स्वस्तेय अपनः सशोकद अघम. Do thou whose countenance is turned to all sides send off our adversaries as if in a ship to the opposite shore. Do thou convey us in a ship across the sea for our welfare, is the verse from Rigved 197, 7 and 8. Greetings, maritime enthusiasts and fellow citizens of Samudriya Bharat. सितारे आज बुलंद हैं भारत के. Tokyo Olympics has brought in the largest haul ever. वास्तव में राष्ट्रीय हर्षोल्लास के साथ आप सभी को आजादी के अमृत महोत्सव पर भारतीय नौसेना के साथ इस आघोष में सम्मिलित होने पर मैं आभार प्रकट करता हूं. Today we join with the national festivity of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, and on behalf of the nation and Indian Navy, the Western Naval Command with Maharashtra Naval Area presents this digital symposium. Before we start, let's take a look at what lies ahead in this short promo. I am Commodore Oracle Johnson, and I am the Director of Maritime History Society. It is my honor to be your host for today's symposium and welcome you to this epoch-making occasion. We are truly blessed with your large presence online, so let's set sail. I now invite our Chief Patron, the Flag Officer Commanding-in-Chief of Western Naval Command, Vice Admiral R. Hari Kumar, PVSM, AVSM, VSM, to deliver his welcome address.
Honorable Raksha Rajya Mantri Shri Ajay Bhatt ji, Admiral Karambir Singh, Chief of Naval Staff, distinguished resource persons, distinguished participants, maritime enthusiasts, ladies and gentlemen. Today for me, as the Commander-in-Chief of the Western Naval Command and the Chief Patron of the Maritime History Society, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this webinar. It's a momentous occasion commemorating and celebrating 75 years of India, our maritime legacy and our linkages to the Indian Ocean. I wish to provide a brief insight into the Maritime History Society and its contributions, as well as an overview of the Western Naval Command. In the past, the sea was much more central in our minds, connecting people and goods all over the world. It inspired great literature as well. Joseph Conrad was a famous one who comes to mind. For us, over the past 5 millennia or so, the sea was very, very important. Those who had to travel long distances went by sea, goods were sent by sea, but today very few people travel by sea. Some goods go by air, and the bulk of the cargo as well as containers travel by sea. However, today's tankers and container ships have very little crew on board, thus minimizing the human experience and interaction further with the sea. So for many of us today, we may feel that the sea has little practical significance apart from recreational purposes. This separation of mankind from the sea is only likely to increase in the future with unmanned ships, where the manpower needed will probably be only for entering and leaving the harbor. Yet, as vital supplies and resources dry up on land, we will have to go back to the sea to seek resources, be it oil, gas, fish, nutrients, proteins, minerals, etc., with even greater thrust and focus. To become a maritime power, it is essential to recall, remember, and research our legacy at sea. In the words of late Vice Admiral M.P. Awati, I quote, "Here is the great metropolis of India, right by the sea, which has enriched itself by its huge trade across the same sea, and yet today there is not a single institution, academic or otherwise, which celebrates the city's connection with the sea," unquote. He bemoaned the lack of attention to preservation of our maritime heritage. Arab sailors called the Indian Ocean Al-Bahr al-Hindi, Hind being derived from the Sanskrit word for Sindhu, to Persian and Arabic Hind, and then through Greek and Latin to modern languages into India. We in India are thus blessed to have the Indian Ocean embracing us and also named after us. The Indian Ocean covers about 27% of the maritime space of the world. It's the third largest ocean, and covers 14% of the total globe. It is said that the first sea passage in human history was over the Indian Ocean, with regular connections dating back as much as 5,000 years. On the contrary, the Atlantic has seen human travel only for about 1,000 years, while the Pacific has seen it for about 2,000 years. The idea of creating the Maritime History Society took shape with Vice Admiral Awati and Admiral J.G. Nadkarni steering the institution through the annals of maritime history. We pay homage to these two individuals, the two pioneers and promoters of maritime history in India. Maritime history records the ancient timelines of Indian seafaring prowess right from Kutch and Kathiawar to the Konkan regions of India. Transportation by sea is deemed to be the most efficient means of transportation of goods. It is said that one needs roughly the same energy to move 250 kgs over land on wheels, but 2,500 kgs on rails, and about 25,000 kgs on water. From the peaceful use of the sea, with belief in freedom of the seas, Indian mariners encountered military activity, including very barbaric treatment at the turn of the 16th century. The colonial era saw a convergence of focus on the western seaboard, with Mumbai transitioning into a cosmopolitan city that grew with a maritime core. To illustrate how sea blind we were at that time, it is said that Akbar had his first and only view of the sea while conquering Gujarat. He went out from Cambay on a brief excursion with a select party and enjoyed seeing the sea. His interest in sea matters was very, very slight. In any pre-industrial society, from the Paleolithic age to the 19th century AD, a boat or a ship was the largest and most complex machine produced. The shipping industries in the world supported and continue to support a labor force whose social organization and way of life radically differ from those of the rest of society. Around 1572, Surat port was the greatest market in India, in the Indian Ocean, and perhaps in the whole world. The ships built at Gujarat were between 300 to 600 tons. Just to put things in perspective, Magellan set off to sail around the world with 5 ships. The largest of these was only 120 tons and 31 meters in length. Similarly, around 1577, Sir Francis Drake sailed from Plymouth with 3 ships. One of them was of 100 tons, the other 80 tons, and the third was 30 tons. The Wadia shipyard in Mumbai built about 159 ships of over 100 tons each, and 15 of them were over 1,000 tons each during the period from 1736 to 1821. Bombay's dockyards and nearby facilities made ships of the line for the Royal Navy that were considered to be of superior quality and craftsmanship. The skills and nautical expertise of Indian shipbuilders was legendary right up to the industrial era. The Royal Indian Navy was inaugurated at Mumbai in 1934, with the naval headquarters also there under a flag officer commanding the Royal Indian Navy. The Indian officers and sailors who were duly trained were deployed in the Second World War in various theaters like the North Atlantic and the Mediterranean. It is these valiant mariners who then went on to create the Navy of independent India. Today, the Indian Navy as a whole and Western Naval Command in particular are robust symbols of the Indian maritime power. Indian Navy proudly contributed to building a resurgence of maritime awareness, maritime capability, and maritime power. The Western Naval Command, as the sentinel of the western seaboard of India, is an integral part of this journey as India enters the 75th year of independence. And Mumbai witnessed the Indian Navy as the first armed force to receive the President's colors in May 1951. The gradual and systematic growth of India's naval power saw the creation of the Western Naval Command on 1st March 1968. A few months before that, the submarine arm of the Navy came into existence in December 1967. 1971 saw the Western Naval Command undertaking combat operations. Op Trident and Op Python saw action by the Osa-class missile boats of the Killer Squadron, setting Karachi ablaze. There was also the sad loss of INS Kukri in combat, which saw the commanding officer, Captain Mahendranath Malla, going down with the ship. The mid-1970s saw the growth of maritime reconnaissance operations from Goa during the Kargil conflict in 1999 and Op Parakram in 2001. Western Naval Command units deployed to support and complement operations on land. Apart from the military role, the Western Naval Command units have been undertaking constabulary, benign, and diplomatic roles as well. The Navy has been successful in tackling piracy in the Arabian Sea, near the Gulf of Aden, and has been providing timely response for non-combatant evacuation operations. be it Lebanon in 2006 or Yemen in 2005, the response of the Navy has created a sense of security in the Indian diaspora spread over West Asia, the Middle East, and North Africa. West Naval Command has provided support to the countries in the IOR at short notice. For example, over 2,000 tons of fresh water was provided to Male through INS Deepak in December 2014 during a crisis there. During the COVID pandemic, naval ships assisted the Indian Ocean region countries, and our ships brought back stranded personnel, provided medicines, PPE kit, oxygen concentrators, and medical teams. The naval aircraft transported vaccines to countries in the Indian Ocean region. Cryogenic oxygen, oxygen tanks, oxygen tankers were transported to India from donor countries by ships of the West Naval Command. The Cyclone Taute saw the West Naval Command ships and aircraft rescuing a large number of personnel in distress at sea in extremely difficult conditions. Even a few days back, the naval diving and rescue teams deployed with helicopters and ships for rescue operations in Raigad, Chiplun, Ratnagiri, and Karwar, which were flooded by heavy rainfall. Thus, the Indian Navy stands ready and deployed, alert, vigilant, and responsive to protect our maritime interests. I welcome and urge each of our distinguished guests and participants to relish this rich fare of ideas, thoughts, and discussions commemorating the Navy's contribution to India's independence as well as ensuring freedom at sea. Jai Hind, Samno Varan.
Thank you, Admiral. There is a scripture portion that reads, I am the one who made the shore to hold back the ocean. Waves may crash on the beach, but they can come no further. That is true. Yet, the human spirit seeks to cross invisible boundaries and traverse the length and breadth of the oceans. To set before us the key themes of this symposium and the vital role of the Indian Navy in nation building, I invite the Chief of the Naval Staff, Admiral Karambir Singh, PVSM, AVSM, ADC, to deliver a special address on the theme of the symposium. Admiral, over to you, sir.
Indeed an honor to deliver the special address at today's webinar on the theme Navy and 75 years of nation building, which is being conducted as part of the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the 75th anniversary of our independence. The 75-week-long Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav is a tribute to India's independence movement as well as our nation's achievements over the past 75 years and will continue till 15th August 22. The Indian Navy has planned numerous activities to celebrate the landmark event along three themes. One is encouraging maritime consciousness, engagement and outreach, and Swachh Sagar. This is in keeping with the Prime Minister's vision for celebrations to be structured along 5 pillars, which are the freedom struggle, ideas at 75, achievements at 75, actions at 75, and resolve at 75. Accordingly, today's event aims to showcase India's maritime legacy, highlight lesser known maritime facets of India's freedom struggle, and the contribution of the Indian Navy to nation building. I will introduce each of these in brief. First, India's maritime legacy. Anchored in the Indian philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Indian seafarers sailed and sustained in the core belief that seas were the common heritage of mankind. Commencing from coastal ventures in the prehistoric period, a number of maritime kingdoms and coastal communities crossed the Indian Ocean and beyond. South Indian dynasties like the Cholas, Cheras, and Pallavas were predominantly built on maritime power and are a testimony to India's maritime legacy. The arrival of European powers, as you know, caused a decline in India's sea power that ultimately led to relegation of India's maritime influence and maritime thought to the background. Not Indian naval heroes such as Ali Mahmud, Sarkhe Kanoji led resistance navy with effectiveness. Knowledge of these aspects of our history is foundational to success in future endeavors, and I am sure that the first session will address this issue adequately. The next issue is the lesser known facets of freedom struggle, like the naval uprising of 1946. In addition to leading into the 75th year of independence, the year 2021 also marks the platinum jubilee of the Royal Indian Naval Uprising. The uprising, by ratings of the Royal Indian Navy, which began on 18th February 1946 and quickly spread across various ships and shore establishments along Mumbai harbour, was an important event in our freedom struggle. Though the uprising was suppressed by the British armed forces, it aided and developed a sense of unity amongst Indians in uniform and the public at large. The impending loss of control over the military is believed to have expedited the process of transfer of power to India. Unfortunately, this episode has limited retention in public memory and is known only to maritime history enthusiasts. Discussing and popularizing these aspects will aid in fostering a greater understanding of this seminal event and its contribution in our freedom struggle. And finally, Indian Navy and nation building. You know, the Navy and nation building are synonymous. While there are numerous facets to the Navy's role in nation building, I'll briefly highlight 4 aspects which I consider important, which are maritime security, humanitarian endeavors, shipbuilding, and blue economy. With maritime transport handling about 90% of India's trade by volume and 70% by value, security of our sea lanes is a prerequisite for socio-economic prosperity. And as principal manifestation of India's maritime power, the Indian Navy secures our sea lanes of communication, thereby creating a stable environment that accelerates nation building. And as part of its mandate to ensure maritime security, the Navy also tackles non-traditional maritime security threats like illegal fishing, piracy, smuggling, trafficking, etc., which maintain good order at sea with an associated positive impact on nation building and national prosperity. The Indian Navy has been at the forefront of providing assistance whenever our nation has been affected by natural calamities like cyclones, floods, etc. In addition to providing succor within the nation, the Indian Navy has also tried to be the first responder across the seascape of the Indian Ocean, assisting friendly foreign countries in the aftermath of natural disasters. The actions of our Navy have earned immense goodwill from across the seas and enhanced India's standing as a responsible nation and contributor to regional maritime stability and security. The Navy's shipbuilding endeavors are a matter of great pride. The Navy's shipbuilding process from design to construction is founded in Atmanirbharta. The Navy has an in-house Directorate of Design which has designed more than 90 warships across 19 different classes, which have subsequently been constructed in Indian shipyards. 39 state-of-the-art ships and submarines are currently under construction in Indian shipyards, and acceptance of necessity has been accorded for construction of an additional 49 ships and submarines in India and this of course includes the first indigenously developed aircraft carrier Vikrant, set to join the Indian Navy by 2022. In addition to providing direct benefits in terms of employment generation, infrastructure development, and skilling the workforce, shipbuilding has numerous downstream benefits like development of subsidiary industries, evolution of defense ecosystem, etc. Statistics show that the multiplier effect of one worker employed in a shipyard is approximately 6.4 on ancillary industries. So in this manner, warship building incrementally enriches the economy while simultaneously strengthening our combat capability. The ocean resources and blue economy also hold promise and hope as a new frontier and engine of economic growth which must be tapped optimally for our nation building endeavors. Today, our blue economy contributes 4% of our GDP, and there is immense potential to take this higher. The Indian Navy is a crucial cog in the blue economy wheel and is working towards creating a safe and secure environment that will allow activities to flourish in our blue economy sector. The Navy is also participating in the national efforts for Marine Spatial Plan that would permit efficient maritime estate management. The doyen of Indian strategic thought, Chanakya, had said, and I quote, "Peace is the one which allows the enjoyment of results," unquote. In the maritime context, the Indian Navy is the primary instrument ensuring this peace so that our citizens can enjoy the fruit of investments at sea. I am sure these aspects will be discussed in greater detail during the webinar. So in conclusion, I would like to compliment Headquarters Western Naval Command and Maritime History Society for conceptualizing this event and conducting it in line with the new normal imposed by the pandemic. I consider webinars such as this yet another step towards kindling and fostering maritime consciousness in India and acknowledging India as a maritime nation. The scheduling of this webinar on 9th August, which is the 79th anniversary of the launch of Quit India movement, further adds to the significance of the event. My best wishes for the successful conduct of the webinar. Jai Hind, Sean Varuna.
Thank you, Admiral. We eulogize Varuna as the god of the oceans, sky, water, and rivers. Varuna is revered as the king of the universe, possessing 1,000 eyes with unlimited knowledge and power over the world. An Indian prayer of obeisance is a foundational invocation for many seafarers. Sarvambhasam patir devo varuno hamsavanaha pujita pritamanastu sasamudran nidanada. We are very honored that the Honorable Raksha Rajya Mantri, Shri Ajay Bhattji, accepted the invitation from Indian Navy to deliver the keynote address at this symposium. ये मेरा सौभाग्य है कि मैं माननीय रक्षा राज्य मंत्री श्री अजय भट्ट जी को आमंत्रित करूं कि आप अपने आधार संभाषण से हमें प्रोत्साहित करें. मंत्री जी.
Of Naval Staff Admiral Karamveer Singh, Flag Officer Commanding in Chief, Western Naval Command वाइस एडमिरल हरि कुमार, आज के वेबिनार के पैनल सदस्यों और समस्त विश्व से आए समुद्रवर्ती समर्थकों, आज़ादी का अमृत महोत्सव के भाग के रूप में नौसेना और राष्ट्र निर्माण के 75 वर्ष पर वेबिनार के लिए महत्वपूर्ण संबोधन देना मेरे लिए गर्व की बात है। आज़ादी के बाद से ये 75 वर्ष राष्ट्र के इतिहास में एक सबसे बड़ी बदलाव की अवधि रही है। तदनुसार सरकार ने हमारी स्वतंत्रता के अत्यंत प्रभावशाली इवेंट को और हमारी इस यात्रा को जन भागीदारी की भावनाओं में जन उत्सव के रूप में मनाने का निर्णय लिया है। पूरे स्पेक्ट्रम में प्रधानमंत्री द्वारा 12 मार्च 2021 को शुरू किए गए उत्सव 75 सप्ताह चलेंगे और यह 15 अगस्त 2022 को परमोत्कर्ष पर पहुंचेगा। आज़ादी का अमृत महोत्सव के तत्वावधान में इस वेबिनार का आयोजन इसकी महत्ता को बढ़ाता है और इस अवसर की गरिमा में वृद्धि करता है। भारत का समुद्री इतिहास अत्यंत समृद्ध है और भारतीय नौसेना इस विषय में हितों को फिर पुनर्जीवित करने में अग्रणी रही है। हमारा इतिहास शिवाजी महाराज के नौसेनापति चोल, जमोरिन और अन्य कई के समुद्रवर्ती प्रयासों से परिपूर्ण है। भारतीय नौसेना हमारे समुद्रवर्ती इतिहास को जो महत्ता देती है वह इस तथ्य से स्पष्ट है कि हमारे कई नौसेना बेसों का नाम हमारे समुद्रवर्ती इतिहास के महत्वपूर्ण चर्चित व्यक्तित्व पर रखा गया है। जैसे कि मुंबई में नौसेना के मुख्य बेस का नाम मराठा नौसेना लीजेंड कन्होजी अंगरे के नाम पर रखा गया है। नौसेना ने हमारी समृद्ध समुद्रवर्ती विरासत के संबंध में जागरूकता बढ़ाने के लिए विभिन्न पहलुओं में उत्कृष्टता हासिल की है। आज की सेमिनार भी अलग नहीं है और इसमें हमारी समुद्रवर्ती विरासत और भारतीय स्वतंत्रता संघर्ष के कम ज्ञात समुद्रवर्ती पहलुओं पर प्रकाश डाला गया है। समुद्रवर्ती मुद्दों पर सरकार का जोर सागरमाला और मौसम के रूप में त्रिपहलों के माध्यम से स्पष्ट है। इन सभी का उद्देश्य बृहद समुद्र की क्षमताओं का दोहन करना और पूरे क्षेत्र में शांति और समृद्धि में वृद्धि करना है। स्वतंत्रता के समय से ही नौसेना समुद्री क्षेत्र में राष्ट्र के हितों की रक्षा करने और उसकी संरक्षा करने में अग्रणी रही है। भारत की सामरिक भौगोलिक अवस्थिति, ऐतिहासिक समुद्रवर्ती संपर्क, व्यापार निर्भरता नौसेना को हमारे राष्ट्र की सुरक्षा, राजनयिक और अनुकूल प्रयासों में एक महत्वपूर्ण स्थान प्रदान करते हैं। हालांकि मैं आश्वस्त हूं कि इन क्षेत्रों में नौसेना के प्रयासों को वेबिनार के दौरान विस्तार से कवर किया जाएगा। मैं कोविड-19 महामारी के दौरान राष्ट्रीय प्रयास में योगदान के लिए नौसेना द्वारा निभाई गई भूमिका का भी उल्लेख करना चाहता हूं। पिछले वर्ष कोविड महामारी के बाद नौसेना ने विभिन्न IOR तटवर्ती इलाकों में 4000 से अधिक भारतीय नागरिकों को घर वापसी करवाई। मिशन सागर 4 अभियानों के माध्यम से मित्र राष्ट्रों को सहायता प्रदान की और जब राष्ट्र ऑक्सीजन की कमी से जूझ रहा था तब नौसेना के जहाज़ों ने समुद्री मार्गों से बड़ी मात्रा में तरल मेडिकल ऑक्सीजन की आपूर्ति की थी। अपने ऑपरेशनल कर्तव्यों के निर्वहन से समझौता किए बिना साथ साथ सभी ऑपरेशनल लक्ष्यों को पूरा करते हुए इन मिशनों को पूरा करना वास्तव में सराहनीय है। इस क्षेत्र की समुद्रवर्ती सुरक्षा परिदृश्य में वृद्धि के लिए अलग अलग रूप से और साथ ही मित्र राष्ट्रों के साथ सामंजस्य से नौसेना की भूमिका से क्षेत्र में पसंदीदा सुरक्षा भागीदार के रूप हमारी उपस्थिति काफी बड़ी है। हमारे मित्र राष्ट्रों और भागीदारों के साथ विस्तृत नौसेना परस्पर संपर्कों ने हिंद प्रशांत क्षेत्र में स्थित देशों के साथ घनिष्ठ संबंधों और अधिकाधिक सहयोग के लिए एक उत्प्रेरक का कार्य किया है। ये क्रियाकलाप संकेंद्रित आयोजना और क्षमताओं विकास के परिणाम हैं। जिससे नौसेना एक ऐसा मार्ग अपना पाई जो विगत के हमारे गौरवशाली समुद्री इतिहास जैसा है। मुझे राष्ट्र निर्माण की दिशा में पोत निर्माण और नौसेना अवसंरचना परियोजनाओं के रूप में नौसेना की भागीदारी की सूचना मिली है। इस वेबिनार जैसे आउटरीच कार्यक्रमों के साथ ये प्रयास कॉलोनियल शासन के लंबे वर्षों द्वारा थोपे गए समुद्री अंधकार से उभरते हुए महत्वपूर्ण हैं। राष्ट्र में इस प्रकार के आयोजनों की महत्ता को देखते हुए मैं भारतीय नौसेना, पश्चिमी नौसेना कमान और समुद्रवर्ती इतिहास सोसाइटी को इस वेबिनार के आयोजन में उनके समग्र प्रयासों के लिए और इस आयोजन के संपूर्ण सफलता की कामना करता हूं और बधाई देता हूं। जय हिंद।
धन्यवाद मंत्री महोदय। On this momentous occasion, I am delighted to update that we will be celebrating a piece of India's nautical knowledge. As a project first initiated by Darshak Itihas Nidhi, a preliminary transcription of the navigational diaries of pre-modern Kutchi boatmen was released by the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji in April 2015, all thanks to Shri Hasmukh Bhai Shah, the founder chairman of Darshak Itihas Nidhi. I, as Director Maritime History Society and a navigator myself, I'm grateful to Darshak Itihas Nidhi and the Indian Navy for giving Maritime History Society the honor to publish an advanced and edited translation of Malamni Pothi, Volume 1. मैं माननीय रक्षा राज्य मंत्री श्री अजय भट्ट जी को आमंत्रित करता हूं कि इस प्रकाशन के ऊपर अपने विचार प्रकट करें। तत्पश्चात इस महत्वपूर्ण प्रकाशन का विमोचन नौसेना प्रमुख एडमिरल करमबीर सिंह, पश्चिमी नौसेना कमान के कमान प्रमुख वाइस एडमिरल आर हरि कुमार एवं डॉक्टर अशोक राज शिर्के मिलकर ये पुस्तक का विमोचन करेंगे। मैं श्री अजय भट्ट जी को आमंत्रित करता हूं।
हार्दिक प्रसन्नता है कि मैं मलामनी पोथिस वॉल्यूम 1 पुस्तक का विमोचन कर रहा हूं, जो मलाम्स अथवा कच्छ के नाविकों के रिकॉर्ड का अनुवाद है। मैं डॉक्टर अशोक राजेश शिर्के और समुद्रवर्ती इतिहास सोसाइटी और इस पांडुलिपि के गुजराती से अंग्रेजी में शुद्ध अनुवाद के उनके प्रयासों को धन्यवाद ज्ञापित करता हूं। यह ऐसे परिश्रमी शोधकर्ताओं के अथक प्रयासों के कारण ही संभव हुआ है कि हम अपने समृद्ध इतिहास के इन पहलुओं को पुनर्जीवित करने में समर्थ हुए हैं।
Thank you, Your Eminences. May I invite the translator and editor, Dr. Ashok Rajashirke, to give a brief introduction to this book.
Respected dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to be here today for Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav and release of my book, Malamni Pothis, the pre-modern Kutchi navigation manuals at the hands of our esteemed guest. I am also thankful to the Western Command of the Indian Navy and Maritime History Society of Mumbai for providing me this opportunity. Malamni Pothi is the collections of concept, techniques and day-to-day sailing reports of Kutchi seafarers. It provides insights into our knowledge system which otherwise would have remained unfeasible due to obscurity of language and script. It is not only the English translations of the Pothis, but it is a product of exhaustive field survey of coastal ports of Kutch and Saurashtra. Certain terminology found in the Pothis is ambiguous in the modern mind, although I tried to decipher and interpret most of the terms to best of my knowledge and ability. As a historian, I visualize Malamni Pothis will open a new vista to understand Indian model of the pre-modern navigation in wider perspective. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Dr. Ashok Rajashirke. I must inform the viewers in advance that Indian nautical knowledge is a major focus of research to us at Maritime History Society, and we will be continuing this work. And very soon, the books will be available for the common public and researchers. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we bring this inaugural session to a close. Don't go anywhere. In around a minute or so, we will get ready to launch an exciting session on our maritime legacy. Be back soon.